Welcome to Joa Fitness Health Wellness Video Podcast, a space to ignite your day through positive conversations. We bring people that have created excellence in their life, sharing high vibration in their reawakening path.
Hello, and happy new day. Here you are tuning into the Back into Alignment podcast. My name is Joa Rivas, and I've been hosting this podcast for 5 years. And now we are in December 2023 exactly. And we are so excited to finish our year with a great speaker. Today we have a beautiful thought leader and change maker of our community that is representing the Asian community, raising the voice of so many that have been invisible. She is bringing her story since she was actually coming from Philippines to Toronto. She's actually going to be sharing her journey and the stories that have shaped herself and how she has been transforming her path into being a catalyst of change and bringing so much light into our community. Sheena Yap Chan is the Wall Street Journal bestselling author and keynote speaker, consultant, and award-winning podcaster on leadership and self-confidence. She is also the founder and host of the award-winning podcast called The Tao of Self-Confidence, where she interviews Asian women about their inner journey to self-confidence. It is beautiful that her podcast has gotten over 1 million downloads today, and she has interviewing over 800 women on the topic of confidence. She is definitely a powerhouse, and we're gonna have her live. I am so excited because every time I meet with a leader of my community, I feel this burst of love from in my heart because I know that we are working together towards the betterment of our world. I'm excited because this morning I just admire a beautiful sunrise that allowed me to just be blessed of this year, being able to be alive after so many adversities that happened. It allowed me to bring me back into alignment, yes, and be here with you. It's always a pleasure. I invite you to join our community. We do have an event that is called Championing Heals in Toronto, Canada, where we showcase women in our community that are supernovas. They are actually changing the paradigm of the laziness. We're actually being so active you cannot imagine, and we are bringing all these people around to share their journeys and to improve with us and to make a better world. So I am excited also that next year is going to bring a lot of newness, and I invite you these last 10 days of 2023 to write your goals and to sit in silence and visualize your year so you can actually have a clear purpose and a clear outcome at the end of the year. I would love to see what we can accomplish together. I also invite you to follow this podcast by clicking subscribe in any of the channels. We do have over 7 channels where we actually broadcast this podcast, including YouTube, where you can actually see the video of this interview. Thank you so much for your time with us. And if you have, by the way, any back pain or any issues with the spine, you can come back to the previous episodes where we actually interview so many doctors related to the spinal health. And in this moment, we're working on episodes related to leadership and community building. And we are just focusing on women that are making a big transformation in our world. So thank you so much for all those speakers that shared with us this year the journey of what it takes to be the best and excel in your goals. And thank you so much for those listeners that kept the downloads going. So thank you so much again, and get comfortable getting your tea and getting cozy to listen to this short conversation with Sheena, who brings so much power to learn about confidence and to learn about stepping into greatness, which is so important for us in this life journey. Thanks. Hello, everyone, and happy new day. If you are connected from home, I wanted to give you a big hug. If you're listening this while you're cooking or anywhere, I just wanted to thank you for opening this podcast and to be able to reach more is actually one of my goals. My name is Joa Rivas, and I am basically some souls in this city in Toronto who is very curious about the community. I am a realtor in the city of Toronto, but beyond my profession, I love to know my neighbors and I love to know the people that are making a change in my community. As a community builder who is a very proactive soul here, I am bringing you amazing soul leaders, change makers, and they are making a better world for us. They are stating and actually stepping up into greatness. And that's kind of the goal that I'm here just to inspire you. If you're a mother, if you're a grandmother, if you're a sister, a daughter, no matter where you are, a father, a husband, this podcast is to inspire our community. Today, I'm very excited. It's firstly because it's December and we are kind of finishing the year. It was so fast for some people, for some other people, it was slow. But no matter which speed you took, we're here together and it's a blessed to be alive. This morning, I admire a beautiful twilight or like this beautiful fire that turned the sky. So actually that allowed me to become more present of how blessed to be alive. So yeah, today we have a beautiful speaker, and actually I haven't met her in person, but I'm excited to bring her here and bring her voice of so many that has been forgotten. She's actually taking this responsibility to raise the voice of so many, not only in the Asian community, but in so many other cultures that has been forgotten. And she's here bringing the awareness of confidence and also of leadership. So thank you so much. Today we have Sheena and Sheena Yan Chan. Can you please tell us about you and firstly pronounce your name properly? And yeah, tell us a little bit about how do you feel today?
Yeah, first off, Jorley, thank you so much for having me on the show today. It's such an honor to be here. And, plus we live in one of the greatest cities in the world. And so, for those of you who may not know me, my name is Sheena Yap Chan. I am a Wall Street Journal bestselling author on confidence and leadership. I have a podcast called The Tao of Self-Confidence, where I've interviewed over 700 Asian women on the topic of confidence. And like you mentioned, representation was very important for me, especially growing up in a city like Toronto, even though it's one of the most multicultural cities in the world, I never saw anybody in the media that looked like me. So I was always ashamed of my own culture, wanted to have blonde hair and blue eyes to feel more accepted. Was ashamed of my own culture, and it wasn't until my 20s when I decided to embrace my culture again. And so in 2015, I decided to, start looking for resources that cater to Asian women's confidence because I was dealing with my own and there wasn't any. And culturally, we're not told to talk about the things we go through, what we're feeling. We're supposed to just keep it in and never share it to the world. And so I decided to start my podcast in September of 2015 to serve as a support system and also to create better representation for Asian women because we're still, up till now, we're still seen as quiet, submissive, and obedient. And I really just want to dismantle that.
Yes, yes. And
Yeah.
yes, I know you went so quickly into that who you are right now, which is very empowering. And I actually like so proud that you accepted to have this conversation because I know women like you, even though they seem so accessible, that you guys and we are so busy with so many ideas that we want to materialize in our life. And thank you again for being here. I wanted to tell everybody because most of the people that are listening to this podcast are previous people that has been in the audience of an experiment that we have been running here in Toronto. It's called Champagne and Heels, and it's basically a community that we are building to be able to showcase women in our community, local community, that are making a change in their local area where they are. And I believe changes doesn't have to be a massive global change to start. We are working on small communities, testing our ideas and see the ripple effects that this can create. And as an experiment, this year we run 8 events, which is actually an experience of people to understand that no matter where you are, there is a possibility to make your soul to be more aligned with the purpose. And that's why I am so excited to have you, because we do have in the people that actually have the video access on YouTube, they will be able to see that behind you there are 2 books that you have published. One is called The Tao of the Self-Confidence. The other one is Asian Woman Who Boss Up, which is a collaboration of so many stories of women that hasn't been able to elevate and excel in what they do. There's also a podcast that you also have, which is called The Tao of Self-Confidence. So basically that's kind of the type of audience that we're gonna get, is all these women that have been on these events, also women that have been following other coaches that have been here, like Kim Singh and like Francine, who actually are mentors and coaches, and who are also women that are leaders of organizations that support the teams. And I think I remember that you were commenting in other interviews that one of your goals is to close the intergenerational gap between women that have been forgotten, and they have been embedded with traumas that perhaps they're so in the subconscious level that they're not able to see the why they're not where they're supposed to be. So I wanted to come back a little bit way before, and that's something like I normally do with my interviews and actually my conversations, which I usually call storytelling. I just love to listen to the stories of how women and how people came become who they are now. And it's actually starting from the childhood. So I wanted to know more about you as a child. I wanted to know where were you born, how many kids are in your family, and who was your role model when you were a child?
Yeah, I mean, I was born in the Philippines and my family decided to move to Canada in 1989. So I was 7 years old at the time. And of course, it was such a big culture shock because, like I mentioned, like Toronto is one of the most multicultural cities in the world. And so to see people from different cultures was brand new to me, right? And like I mentioned, growing up, I never saw anybody in the media that looked like me. So it was always ashamed of being Asian. I wanted to be somebody else. I wanted to have blonde hair and blue eyes to feel more beautiful and to feel more accepted. And that's hard, right? As a child, like you feel like you're not enough because you come from a certain culture. And I'm the middle child. I have 2 sisters, one older, one younger. It was a middle class upbringing. Both my parents worked, had a job for 12 years in working in an office, and I always knew that it wasn't for me because I would like sit at my cubicle and be like, I don't think I can be here till I retire. Like I just couldn't picture it. But of course, in our culture, we were basically given one path to live our life. And it's like, this is the path to success. Just follow that and you'll be successful. But every
Mm-hmm.
single person is different, right? Not everyone wants to work a 9 to 5 job. Some people want to have their own business or start their own careers or do things differently that's like outside of what the chosen path is. And when we do that, sometimes we're labeled as too much or too wild, when really it's not. We're
Mm-hmm.
all
Yeah.
different. So we're going to do things differently.
So you
And
are from Philippines, and again, a shout out to all those Filipino people that live in Toronto. We have a big community. I love the culture of Philippines because it reminds me so much to my own culture. I'm actually from Venezuela. As everybody knows, my accent is a Spanish accent, and it same like you. I've been feeling um, sometimes I live in 5 countries, right? So every country has a different perspective of Latinos. Same like Asians, right? Everybody has a different perspective of how Asians and what Asian represents. And I know that you're moving the needle into what Asians are beyond the what's happening in these big countries where the exploitation of actually kids and human are uh, to a level that there is no control, and it's actually really sad what's happening. But then we are definitely changing the perspective and trying to create this movement that no matter how you look, it goes beyond about the actions that we are taking, and no matter how we look physically, it goes beyond that. So you are born in Philippines and came here and start your journey here with like a platform for opportunities, which is great that you're being able to expand it to this level. One of my best friends is actually half Filipino, half Indian. A shout out to Nita Bushan, who is someone that I really love.
Yeah, I
Um,
actually interviewed Nina on my podcast a couple years back.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah, she's
she's
one of my
awesome.
best friends,
Oh,
and
nice.
we always bring the Filipino. We know Philippines had that influence in the Spanish, and we always say like we both have a little bit of a Latino in our blood. So it's actually exciting to connect to the Filipinos. Always, I always feel like that warm heart, the same like in Latin houses with the food, and we really value our family. So having those cultural values, I wanted to know what did inspire you to get to the two books. Let's start first with the Asian woman who boss up, and then we can talk about the Tao of the self confidence.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was during the pandemic, during the lockdown, when you have nothing left to do but to like sit at home and be stuck at home, like you just kind of have to start thinking like what is it that you really want, right? Like what is it that you are looking for in life? And as much as I love my podcast, it was still a very small platform compared to other media platforms. And I really wanted to create this global visibility and really dismantle the negative stereotypes we still go through today, especially in Asia, like you mentioned, there's still a lot of women who suffer, there's human trafficking, child marriages. In China, if you're 25 and over and still single, you're literally called a leftover. I mean, it's terrible that we still go through all these atrocious things, right, for women all over. And I know it's all over the world, right? And so I started thinking, okay, well, what does that look like? What does this media look like? What does that visibility look like? And met a lady online who started a book series called Women Who Boss Up. So we've launched 13 books since we started out of the pandemic from different themes. We also have a Latina woman one. And she mentioned like, why don't we create a book highlighting Asian women? And I'm like, yeah, why not? I mean, there's not a lot of books out there. If you look at the numbers in the publishing industry, like, it's still 75% Caucasian, and then everybody else, we have to like fight for that space, right? And so I said, okay, let's do it. I had no idea what to do. I just said, let's do it. What's the worst that could happen? We're all stuck at home. Let's just do it. And in February of 2021, we launched this book, Asian Women Who Boss Up. It's really great to see 16 Asian women on the front cover because it's really powerful to have our pretty faces on the cover. And, I was promoting that book, sharing that message, which led me to Wiley approaching me, asking if I wanted to write a book on the topic of Asian women leadership. Now, when I first got approached, I was actually not too sure if I wanted to write this book because, of course, imposter syndrome, right? We think we're not good enough. Who am I to write a book about Asian women leadership? I didn't know what I was going to write about. And so I hesitated, of course. And that's why having a support system that really sees your capabilities is so important because they'll cheer you on. They're going to be the ones who said, just do it, right? Just do it. Like you can do this. And I
Mhm.
realized I had to write this book, not just for myself, but for every other Asian woman out there in the world who feels invisible, who feels they don't have a voice, who feels like they can't bring up the difficult conversations. And of course, this book goes beyond our community, right? Everyone has gone through trauma, especially after the pandemic. It's been really tough for some people. So I pulled the plug. I said yes. I wrote this book in less than 3 months to have it out.
Wow.
Yeah, to have it out earlier this year. And here we are today, right? To see this book all over the world has been amazing.
Hmm.
People have bought it from Europe. My family has seen it in the bookstores in the Philippines. One of my best friend has seen the book in Australia. I've had people who bought it in Singapore, being able to go to Barnes and Nobles in the US. So like earlier this month, I got to go to the biggest Barnes and Noble store. I went to the biggest Barnes and Noble store in the US, which is in New York City, and it was just cool to see like my book is there in this building that has like 4 floors of books, which is like wild, and it's just like surreal sometimes to see this happening
Mhm.
and getting messages from women and men telling me how it's really helped them. They can totally relate to it. It really speaks to them. And for me, that's the most important, right? Like that they can have a book that they can turn to, have that support system.
Mhm.
Some readers have told me how, they're starting to have difficult conversations with their kids because I think it's important to be open to these difficult conversations because without it, how are we going to move forward? How are we going to find ways to heal from it? You
Yes, yes,
know,
it is important. Like I will just share that they're having difficult conversations is becoming a very typical topic for women. They're doing a transformation in their communities. I just noticed this. I am very in tune with this type and tap into this sense. Same like you, I am definitely a part of a culture. People can notice right from the bat just because the way as I speak. And also coming from a very abandoned and corrupted land like Venezuela, I have seen misery from the lowest level, and my family, everyone is actually affected by the corruption, and then by the poor lack of skills of leaders in my country and in South America in general. So coming with you, even though I'm so far from Philippines, I totally feel you, and I totally understand where you're coming, and with the desire of a transformation, not only for you as an individual, but also shedding light to communities, even to sisters. And with this book, materialize that legacy through a book that will create this movement. I wanted to know if you could tell us what was a role model that you can remember when you were a child, because I tend to see when I have conversation with leaders, they tend to be very into the now because they're so empowered to the now. But I love to come back always to the childhood, because I truly believe that the China that we see now, evolving and shining, it is a big part of that girl when you were a child. And I'm sure you had some kind of leadership skill showing already when you were a child, and differentiate you of the others. So can you please tell us a little bit of that, Sheena, which is like what I love to share this, because we do see, like, if you are following Sheena in LinkedIn, she's very active there. So please follow her, Sheena Yap Chan. She has a lot of great information for people that are looking and searching into communities of movement like this. But we wanna, in this conversation, I really wanna go back into you as a child, because that brings you into that vulnerability that anyone that is even stuck in this moment and not able to elevate themselves to that point, they need to come back into childhood, because once we are actually healed, when we heal our child, we actually can actually connect to what we're here for.
thanks so
So
much
how
for
was the child when you were the first child moments, and were you already developing the leadership when you were little?
Yeah, I guess when I was younger, I guess I wasn't aware of that. I mean, of course, I had so much insecurities. I never felt I was good enough. I never felt I was beautiful enough. So I don't even know if I could even pinpoint any leadership skills during my childhood. I mean, definitely when I was starting this podcast, it's really helped me learn what it means to be confident, what it means to show up as your authentic self, which leads to leadership. It was really important to listen to women's stories, how they were able to overcome their own self-confidence issues, and realize I wasn't alone in not feeling good enough, always scared, always resisting. And that's really helped me with my own journey. And of
Okay.
course, just looking back at the women in my life who've really just kind of paved the way also helped out. My mom came to this country not knowing how to cook, right? And even just something as simple as that, like when you're faced with a situation that you have to do it, you just do it. As women, that's what we do, right? Especially if you're a mother, you just make it happen regardless of the situation. So being able to see that, she always stood up for herself, which sometimes it's which has been good to realize, like, if you see something wrong, you call it out. And it's not always fun when you do that, right? I remember a time when we would drive to Buffalo a lot because it was so close, right, from Toronto. And we actually went to IHOP, and I was so excited to go to IHOP because I always saw it on the commercials, seeing the pancakes, and I was like, oh, I really want to go to IHOP because I always see it in the commercials. So when we finally got there, it was probably one of the worst experiences of my life as a child.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, first off, we were the only Asian family in the restaurant. The waitress that we had was not so nice, and I think that was the first time I've experienced racism as a child. They didn't serve us as nice. They served people before us, even though we got there first. It was just a bad experience, right?
Mhm.
And I remember when we were leaving, the hostess was asking my mom, how was your experience today? Did you have a good time? And my mother just blurted out, no, we didn't. Maybe because it's the color of our skin. And the hostess had no response. I don't think she expected that, right? Because, they see like the Asian community is quiet, never making any noise, never making any trouble. But,
Mhm.
they never, you don't mess with my mom. So,
Yeah. Oh, okay.
after that, we left, right? And so, yeah, till this day, I'll never go into IHOP because of that one moment in my childhood. I guess it just triggers me. It's just like that traumatic experience, right? Like the racial trauma we go through.
Mhm.
And, as a child, like as a child, it's like you finally got something that you've been wanting, right? It's like going to Disneyland, but a lot closer. And then when you go there, it's like your expectations were brought down because of this one experience. And it's just unfortunate that happened as a young child.
Yeah, no, of course. But it's good to see what's not really in your standard of what you're expecting, and then you know what's good. I think sometimes the contrast of how people behave wrong or right is actually a good contrast to it's an experience that we don't want to get again, but at least we know the contrast. So that's actually a good a story to tell, because then people recognize when someone treats you how you deserve it, right? So it's good to see the contrast between the dark and the light. Definitely not a experience that people wants to get, but always teaches something. And so do you believe that the primary mentor was actually your mother in the beginning of the journey?
Yeah, my mom, my grandmothers, even though, they had a harder life, like, in our culture, it's like, even though you go through hard times, we just keep pushing through. And it's good and bad, right? There's good and bad in that, of course, right? They only knew what they knew at that time because they were taught a way of life, especially as Asian women, we were taught to get married, run the household, never rock the boat,
Yeah.
and endured a lot of things. There's things that my grandmother will never tell me that's happened to her.
Mhm.
And I've accepted that because she was born in a different era, in a different time, and the cultural values back then were totally different. But sometimes, it's nice to see that through all that, they can still smile, they can still enjoy the life that they have as much as they can.
Mhm.
So just seeing all the things that they had to go through, it makes me appreciate my life more, and it makes me want to do better for them, right?
Yeah.
Do better and realize, like, we can be more than what people tell us, right? We can go beyond that. And
Mhm.
it's up to us to break that cycle, right? Now that we know better, it's like, what are the tools and resources that we can use to break that cycle? And instead of bringing intergenerational trauma, we can bring in, intergenerational abundance, or whatever the opposite of intergenerational trauma would be.
Yeah, healing, pretty much healing the disruption that happens through our lineage, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't even have anyone to blame. It's just it happens as part of the human evolution. And some people are able and have more awareness than others, so that's why we do have this empowering of leadership, which is what allow us to excel. And then I see that you are bringing great speakers as well on your podcast. And I love the graphics, especially because I see like a superwoman there. I wanted to know if you could mention what would be your superpower in this era. I'm sure you have developed many skills on your journey, on your life journey, but I'm wondering what could you say, what would be your superpower this 2024?
My superpower for 2024. I think for me, like self-promotion is really important, like
Okay.
being able to go out there and promote your products and services because as women, we still think it's bad, right? We think it's icky, it's tacky, but really it's not. It's actually empowering. Like you look at the Barbie movie, right? Constant promotion. Like you couldn't go anywhere without seeing the color pink. Every
Mhm.
single company in the world decided to collaborate with them, right? To make a
Yes.
Barbie line. Even Xbox had a Barbie Xbox. But
Yeah,
because they
why
were
not?
able to do that, it was the first movie that made the $1 billion mark that was led by a female director.
Yeah.
So that's a good example of why self-promotion is so important. And, people always ask me like, how much is too much? And I'm always like, I don't know. I mean, like, I say if you're not sick of your face yet as you're sharing what you're doing, like you're not doing enough, right? Because you look at singers, right? If they have a number one hit song, what do they do when they have this number one hit song? They constantly sing it. They constantly sing it till they get sick of singing it. And even if they get sick of singing it, they'll still sing it because they
Yeah.
know it's a moneymaker, right?
Mhm.
And in the world of marketing, before social media, they said that it took a person 7 times to see the product before they make a buying decision.
Yeah.
Well, now in
Or
the
more,
world
more
of
times. Seven
yeah,
times. Yeah.
no, that was before social media. Now in the
Mm.
world of TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn, it's like 4 times the amount. So, for me, like self-promotion is really
Yeah.
important. So
Yeah. We actually,
it's not just for myself, it's for every other
for
woman to
everyone. Yeah.
give them permission, like go out there, share what you have, especially if it's going to make a change in the world.
Yes.
Yes, we're going to have haters. That's just part of the process. That's something we can't control. But you focus on the people who do buy your products and services and send you messages how it's affected their life for the better.
Yeah, no, totally. Bragging is not, it is a term that has been used in the wrong way. I actually had in the event of Champagne Hills, Lisa Braggs, which made the book, actually, she's the author of the book, Bragging Rights. So I shout out to Lisa Braggs. She has great stories about how to honor your work and self promote. It is actually the way for spreading who you are and also take credits of your hard work if you actually making an impact. So I actually have so much to share with you. I love chatting with you, especially because we are vibing on the same. This podcast is called Back into Alignment, and it's actually called like this because I started my journey having actually back pain. I used to interview doctors about spine. I interview 100 times. I have 100 episodes about back pain, and my back is healed. And I understood that was a part of my journey. And I didn't want to change my podcast name, so I kept it as Back into Alignment. But now Back into Alignment, more into a soul alignment, and it's still there because we always come back into alignment. If anything happens that takes you away of the track of what you're supposed to be, I invite you again to reconnect to yourself with a deep breath and come back into alignment. I'm happy that I got to talk to you in very short 30 minutes. Thank you so much for sharing your time. There is so much to share, especially related to the book. And I only wanted to complete our conversation today with how would you see yourself in 2024 expanding this movement even bigger? So I think this is the final ultimate goal that you have is to get this movement of self-confidence, self-worth, self-care globally. Can you please tell us a little bit about how do you see 2024 and how can we help you to increase and raise the voice even higher?
Yeah, I think for me, 2024 is just to constantly show up even more, right? Even though I talk about confidence, like walking the walk is a whole different thing, right? I mean, I still get scared, I still resist, I still overthink, procrastinate, and I think that's normal to say, right? Because we're not perfect, we're all human beings, and it's not always easy to share your flaws, right? They're like, how dare you? So, just being able to show up more, be able to create more visibility, and yeah, having the support of the community to connect me to the right people to make that happen.
Great, great. Is there a particular program, anything that you want to share right now would be the perfect time for people to join you, especially those women that are from actually Asian countries and they actually want to be part of a particular community like the one that you're building?
Yeah, so I have a Facebook group called Asian Women Entrepreneurs, so they can just search it and be able to join it. They can also, I also have on my website a free quiz that they can take, a self-confidence personality quiz, so they can check it out. They get the results right away. Just go to sheenayapchan.com. And then it's a couple questions and it's very easy and you'll get the results right away.
Okay. So
Yeah.
we have those two ways. They also can follow your podcast, The Tao of Self-Confidence, which will give them more news about all your work and all the speakers that you bring. And we will follow your work 2024. I think we will do big impact. I am working with an association for peace in the world. So we are so far 18 women. We call the Global Peace Ambassadors, representing 18 countries. We don't have Philippines. So I would love to share more about that with you. And I truly believe peace is something that we all seeking, but it's actually inside of us. It's an inner peace comes into the breath. And then we are also spreading global reconciliation in these times that are so tense in the world. So thank you so much, Sheena, for sharing this conversation, sharing a little bit about your childhood with us, and also keep shining with us as a supernova. So thank you so much, Sheena. Have a beautiful day. And we are going to follow your work 2024 for sure. Thank you. Have a beautiful, happy holidays.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Thanks.
We invite you to subscribe to this channel and share with your community. Please leave comments below, and if you like the episode, click the like button. Have a beautiful day.